I think the problem is that his fame rests on the Twilight series.
It was really exhilarating, I have to say. I remember saying to you, I think,
it's like I said, first of all,
watching Rob do his stuff.
I speak for myself.
It was really exciting.
But I did a lot of
The concept of Rob Pattinson came up because you've got a certain age range. You're looking at actors who are about 25 years old. But first of all, they have to want to work with you. You have to be able to afford them. They have to be available given the schedule you've got. And finally, they have to be able to support the budget that you have. You can't make a movie that costs $20 million, as Cosmopolis did, with unknowns. You simply cannot raise the money as an independent producer. So all of these things finally, to me, narrowed down to only a few actors, and for me, Rob Pattinson was the most interesting one of them all. And I watched a lot of the movies that he had done, including some that are not that well known, one called Little Ashes, in which he plays a young Salvador Dali, which is a pretty interesting role for a young actor, especially a British one. I thought he would bring something wonderful to the screen. Something that maybe he didn't even know he had, although I have to say, I think if you watch his movies, he's awfully good. I mean, I think the problem is that his fame rests on the Twilight series, which is, I must say, perhaps not the most demanding kind of movie for an actor, just because there's so much in the way of special effects and all of that that the audience loves. Nonetheless, those actors do have to have a particular charisma on screen for those movies to work. And I didn't dismiss them when I watched them as not indicating something about Rob. The dangers of success for a young actor could be that you're just looking for fans. You know, you love your fan base, you love the fact that you've got fans following you all over the world and following your Twitter feed or whatever, because it is kind of soothing. It's a way of feeling that you've made it as an actor.
Ready, Walter? Peter's just adding a little flag, I see.
Rob was not deluded about that. If you just play it safe, you might have a nice, comfy career, but if you're serious about being an actor, then you've got to work with interesting directors and other interesting actors. You've got to get to the edges of what you can do. And certainly, this is a very edgy Rob Pattinson we see in this movie. In fact, you know, he's come off a huge series. He's done 5 Twilight movies. And he's looking to do something interesting because actually he's a very intelligent, interesting actor who's done some interesting stuff before Twilight. And he was looking to do that again.
So when you have to direct a guy like that who's really, like, he's his own brand now, and you need to get him to be something else, what was that experience like for you?
I don't worry about the brand, honestly, because he's an actor. You know, he's a real actor.
You are talking about potentially working again. Together.
Yeah.
Can you kind of update us on where you?
I said that if Rob came up with the money, I would do a movie with him. No, I mean, I've done 3 movies with Viggo Mortensen. I really love him, and we connected in a very deep way. And frankly, I feel a similar connection with Rob. And I think I'm not finished working with him. You know, I don't think it's enough to just do this one movie. And then, of course, my dream is to have Viggo and Rob in the same movie, because I think they'd be fantastic together. And so I'm kind of just thinking about that. I don't have a movie in mind particularly, but I cannot allow myself to believe that we will never work again together. So I don't think in those terms.
Okay.
I've been watching Pattinson for a long time. I happened to see an early piece of footage on the first Twilight, and I recognized immediately. I just got it. I saw it. I knew. And I interviewed him then, and he was such a nice man. Young, really young. And it's been interesting to watch him grow, and I'm curious to know what you saw in him when you had the opportunity to cast anybody you wanted. Why did you pick him?
Because his auditions were so good. I mean, it was, I met him before I even knew I was going to make the Rover. He was just one of the kind of 500,000 kind of, Hollywood meetings you do after you've made a film that's gotten some attention. And I had learned, I'd already learned at that stage to not prejudge actors, just based on their previous work, that actually there can be something exhilarating about meeting an actor and realizing that there's a way to use them that they haven't been used before. and I didn't really know anything about Rob. Met him, really liked him. Thought he was really smart and really and delightfully awkward and also I was half expecting.
Sincere.
He's sincere, and he's really kind of, you know, he's beautiful, but he's not.
But he's unusual.
He's really
looking.
unusually.
His eyes are sort of strange.
Yeah, and he's got his nose and everything. I just like kind of looking at him, going, "Oh wow, you are actually a really interesting looking human being." And then when it came time to test for the rover, I just knew, I had this feeling like he was going to be my favorite, and but it was all just about whether or not he had the chops, whether or not he had the skill set.
Yes, he is.
Robert Pattinson, Guy, your co-star, your, I suppose, half-willing accomplice in this chase after your car, almost physically unrecognisable, and a revelation in terms of the substance of his acting. Many people would know him simply as the Twilight star. What was it like working with him and seeing this new depth of acting?
It was really exhilarating, I have to say. I remember saying to you, I think after the second day of filming and watching Rob do his stuff, I was like, wow, he's really good, isn't he? You know, it was really exciting because he does a lot of physical stuff in the film that's very difficult to do well, I reckon, and I think he pulls it off beautifully. And he's just utterly heartbreaking. You know, you have such sympathy for him as a character, I think, you know, because he's so vulnerable and so sort of naive. So he just does that stuff beautifully. I mean, what's interesting about Rob is he kind of acts like he doesn't care, you know. He really acts like, oh, yeah, whatever, I'm just, you know, just doing the thing.
And he acts like he doesn't know what he's doing as well.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
He wanted to do this movie and he was willing to work for it, and so he came in and did a couple of long auditions for me, and that was all I needed to see. Within 5 minutes I knew that that stuff that Guy was seeing on day 2 of the shoot, I was seeing in my living room, and it was like, oh, the movie was coming alive.
How do you feel walking the red carpet with him?
Pretty insignificant. Yeah.
How do you think I feel? It's me standing next to these two guys as well. It's like I'm a foot shorter than them. I didn't really have anyone in my head when I was writing Rob's character.
Yeah.
I just, no one came in. When I had already met Rob, I just randomly in a sort of, you know, Hollywood meeting, and I didn't really know anything about him, but I just like meeting actors, and I immediately liked him. I just found his you know, his just qualities beguiling, and he was. You know, anyway, I just liked him. He's smart and funny and fun.
It's not true at all. It's so not funny.
But even then, I didn't actually know that I was going to... I didn't know that I was going to make the rover when we had that first meeting.
Okay.
You know, actually, I've never said this before, because when I think about it, it may even, meeting Rob may have been one of the things that made me go, I think the rover should be the next thing, because I've got a feeling about him.
Yeah, right.
No.
I was meeting something totally different.
What was that?
I was meeting at something totally different. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'll take it.
Yeah, take that one. I didn't know. For all I knew, you could have turned up and auditioned and just been shit. And I'm like, okay, well, who else is out there? But I just had a feeling. I weirdly think that may have been sort of true. I just remember walking away from that meeting going, wow, if I made the rover, I would love to see what that guy can do. And then I started testing for it, and Rob came in and auditioned, and sure enough, my incredible instincts were spot on. And I just knew straight away. I felt like it was, I remember Rob left, and I remember the casting director who was there with me turning to each other and going, there he is.
Boy. And it was immediately clear, because he also has intelligence, a credible intelligence. Robert Pattinson writes very well. He's a very, very educated, well-read young man, and that was exactly the right one.
It's like I said, first of all, speaking for myself, Rob did great, by the way, but I'm, as I said, genetically engineered to be in the, an accountant in the shtetl. So when you put me at 100 degrees and 100% humidity and bugs and the whole thing and snakes and crocodiles and the whole thing. But it was a ridiculous. I never told Rob this, and thank God we're months now past. But there's this scene in the movie where they're pushing the rafts, very shallow water, in the Don Diego River is where we were shooting. And at one point, close your ears, Rob. I see this thing run up the side, and it can't be a crocodile. So I called over one of the guides that we had, the Colombian guides, who were, by the way, terrific. And I said, there aren't crocodiles in this water. He says, no, there is nothing like that, nothing. I mean, you know where this is going. So we do another take, and I see the goddamn thing. I mean, I'm like, that's a crocodile. So I called again, it's a crocodile. No, it's not a crocodile. It's a black caiman. So, of course, I get out the sat phone or whatever. I look up black caiman, and it's like a variety of crocodile considerably more fearsome and dangerous than the standard Florida crocodile. I'm like, that's the worst news I ever heard. So it was bad.
I mean, I couldn't really have had more of an immersive experience. I mean, I was just in the story. I mean, I didn't really have to do too much work. I was just in a crocodile-infested river the entire time.
As you know now. Yeah.
I know. I found that out on the last day when there was a flash flood, and then about 30 all came like on that last day. Yeah, and we were stuck on a sandbank, surrounded by vicious caiman and arbor vipers in the trees.
I didn't know that. During the flood, that last night?
Yeah, they were coming. You could see them floating past. Totally oblivious.
The scene that Rob, by the way, Rob, I have to say, I haven't seen you in forever. I love what you did for the film, and it's totally, it's like an erasure of yourself in a great way. It's log rolling today, by the way. We're just going to keep complimenting each other on the stage, and you can watch.
I think what he does, I'm biased because I love him, but I think what he does is amazing because I know people who know his work and don't recognize him for half the movie with this beard and everything. He really disappears in a great way in the movie into that character. That's me. That's my opinion.
So this is your first movie star that you have teamed up with. What made you first think of Mr. Pattinson? And then I'm going to ask him what drew him to.
No one ever thinks of me.
Yes.
Well, no, he actually, and to that point, to that point exactly, he made us think about it.
Okay.
He reached out to us.
Take it away, please. Tell us how did this begin? What was the beginning of the relationship, Rob?
I mean, it's like I've told the story too many times. I'm just like, oh, whatever. It's like, I mean, I did this. I saw this the still from the previous movie on the banner of a website, and then kind of sent this sort of crazy obsessive email saying, I know this is supposed to happen. It's meant to be, and
very much like the character in the movie.
And then when we met, I mean, I hadn't seen anything. I hadn't seen the trailer or anything, and we sort of agreed to do a movie which didn't exist, based on nothing.
Based on my obsessions.
Yeah.
So you guys, when you got this call from Rob to be in a movie, what did you think? Nah, this is a prank call. What did you think?
Not so different, not so far from that. I got an email out of the blue from him, basically saying it was very much in. When you see the movie, there's a speech that Connie gives this actress, this younger character, Crystal, and he says very similarly what he said to us in our email, like, hey, I saw this still of your movie, and I don't quite know why, but I feel this innate connection to it, and it feels like it's tied to my purpose, and I feel like you're now tied to my purpose, and it was very, there's a lot of mysticism in it, and it didn't feel like an act, but my initial reaction was, Pattinson's not right for anything in this other movie we were trying to make. So I almost didn't respond.
Yeah, we talked like, should we respond? And then Steve was like, yes, you respond.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, we just like, when we're on set, we like to kind of work with what's coming at us, and we met with him, and there was an immediate kind of an understanding that there's a public perception of who someone is, and that's usually very far most of the time from who they are as real people. And the vibe we got immediately was this: there was a mania there, a desire, a genuine desire to discover things, and also this kind of wounded war veteran quality to him that he would never want. He was trying to not be seen and scuttle around, and that was interesting. And you know, we had this desire. We wanted to make a piece of pulp. We wanted to do a genre movie. And you know, his star power was, you know, definitely allowed us to think like that because we could, you know, you could get a budget to do something like that.
And when he reached out, you know, I see him as a leading man, and I wasn't interested in him as like a supporting piece to kind of like get financing. It was just like, I see his face as a star's face, and you know, and carries himself like but he carries himself like a wounded war victim, you know, constantly like, no one look at me, like I need to get from A to B and no one sees me, you know, like, and I that was interesting. We wanted to bring that to the character, but when he reached out, there was no good time, there was no project, and yeah, so then you know, the alchemy, the chemistry kind of began there, and then we wrote something specifically for him.
So do you see yourself as a leading man, Rob?
Oh, nobody's ever asked me that. I don't know. No, I mean, I struggle to see myself even as an actor. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, but the one thing that as I'm getting older, I'm starting to like my insecurities more, which is kind of this is unusual way approach of life. But instead of trying to confront them, I'm just like, oh, I like the fact that every single time I do a movie, I know that the anxiety will build and build and build until like, on day one, I'm like, I don't even know how to speak or read or walk or do anything, and like, regardless of the character, and then you know, it feels like this terrifying mountain to climb every time. It feels it's very satisfying at the end. Well, I generally get like really, really wound up to the point of paralysis. Like, that's generally my method. Like, a lot of self-hatred. But I don't know. I mean, with this, one of the most amazing things about this experience is like, because I never really understand it when a director doesn't want their actor to really obsess and give like if I want to commit something, I don't do that many jobs, and I want to commit properly. And I always think it's kind of, you will get more, the more you let the actor commit to it, and the more you answer questions and go deeper and deeper and deeper, you will. It's just going to be better for everybody, and like, and it's kind of, and with them, they were just kind of, just the level of patience that they would have, and enthusiasm for just anything, any question or anything, and like, you know, and also, you know, when you've had an idea about a character, you want to go to the director and be like, I just had this thought, I mean, you can kind of go through it, and like, the majority of people who are directing movies like can't seem to really find the time to do that, and to me that is what filmmaking is, and so what storytelling is. It says, well, so you're a filmmaker, but you don't have time to actually make a film.
And just to that point, what I think was to me such a huge success for us is that when the door bursts open and you see who like opens the door, it's not Rob, it's Connie. You know, you're like, oh, this is Connie coming in, and you don't even know who Connie is, but it's like, this is his brother. This is this guy who comes in, and it's so fully like a part of the world.
I heard this amazing story out of Cannes that some big actor who I was told never to name was watching the movie with whoever he saw the movie with in the Grand Palais or whatever, and after 12 minutes of the movie, he leaned over and he goes, I thought Rob Pattinson was in this movie. And they said, dude, that is Rob Pattinson. And I think that's like, you know, not that like our whole goal was to just like delete Rob from the movie,
no,
but
Connie and Rob became one thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is a film which is on a financial scale which is considerably greater, I think, than for other films. Obviously with rather expensive actors, shall we say. Or possibly more expensive actors. I mean,
Or very generous.
Or very generous.
I have to.
Yes, I know about that too.
That's the way.
Since we have Robert here, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about...
He's almost not here.
I think he's here. About this process of casting him. I remember you telling me that the delay actually helped convince you that he was right for this part, because you had envisioned an older character.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible to say the delay helped me to think he was right. No, he was right probably since the very minute I met him, but the delay helped me to realize he was even better, that this dream about having this older man, tired with life, at the end wishing nothing but die, was sordid, you know. And Robert was bringing something I had not expected. But I was a little bit afraid, to be honest, because I think I was afraid not of his youth. I was afraid maybe he was too good looking, or maybe too precious to me in a way, you know. I thought, oh my God, I have to be aware of that, you know, and not to be afraid by his charisma.
Robert.
You don't have to be afraid.
No, it's true. In a way, you're very honest, but you don't realize, for me, you represent a charismatic person.